The analogy of the Middle East and a slot machine may be good and well, but definitely I cannot use it now with the rise of Islamic parties in Egypt. So at any rate, let me just speak because I have been told that some of you would be interested in knowing what did Egypt really present to the United Nations very recently. The foreign minister spoke on the 27th and he outlined an invitation to all Middle East and 5 permanent members of the Security Council to deposit official letters with the Secretary General to support declaring the Middle East a zone free of weapons of mass destruction. And that all regional states which had not yet signed nor ratified any of the legal instruments dealing with weapons of mass destruction to act before the end of this year to sign and ratify all the relevant treaties in a reciprocal and simultaneous manner. Incidentally, these 2 words come from the 1990 Weapons of Mass Destruction Initiative, which we presented in Baghdad in that year. And to deposit this with the Security Council, of course, with the Secretary General coordinating the implementation of that simultaneously as a necessary prerequisite to ensure its success. It would really mean that Israel would join the NPT as a non-nuclear weapon state. It would ratify the Chemical Weapons Convention and sign and ratify the BWC. Syria would ratify the BWC and continue on with the CWC. Egypt would ratify the BWC, sign and of course the Chemical Weapons Convention in exchange for all the Middle East accession to legal instruments to prohibit weapons of mass destructions and necessary arrangements associated with that. And finally, in continuation of international efforts to convene the delayed conference of the weapons of mass destruction since 2012, the call for convening it either at the end of this year or at a maximum spring of 2014. What does this really mean? Why do some of us consider this a bailout initiative presented by the Egyptians to the world? For several reasons. First of all, it really rehashes very important principles that were enshrined, in fact, during the arms control and regional security talks in which Israel and some Arab countries were. One of them, for example, is the notion of equal security for all. And I'm sure Ariel Levita will vouch for that. We worked together on that concept when we were working in arms control and regional security. It highlights the dangers, once again, of weapons of mass destruction in our region and the need to deal with it in a comprehensive manner. It capitalizes on the positive events that are emerging, Iran talks with the West. It explains, once again, that despite Egypt's domestic turmoil, Egypt remains a very active player in arms control and regional security. It capitalizes on Syrian chemical weapons surrender and Security Council Resolution 2118. And it underlines that Egypt is ready to join the chemical weapons and biological weapons, with Israel joining also the NPT as a non-nuclear weapon state. And it extends the deadline till spring 2014. I had a discussion with Mr. Lajava yesterday, and he thinks that we should stick to the target date of the end of 2013. But I think this is quite an interesting bona fide on the part of the Egyptians, that we should work for the purpose, and we can even extend that a little bit farther to give everyone breathing space if needed. And it also underscores the fact that there is a corollary track. Now we have the conference track, which has been part and parcel of the 2010 agreement. And now we have another track which is supportive of the conference track, which really underlines that and works towards the same objective in the same manner. And it also gives place for other initiatives. Amidst us is Ambassador Shaker, who feels very strongly about the mock-up conference, and I think maybe he can explain about that when we have a discussion. So it does not really differentiate between any other elements or proposals that can come in between. And it refocuses on a brighter future instead of exchanging blames and accusations. And here I will have to pause a little bit, because it is very important And I know my good friend facilitator will understand that there is a great deal of pain and remorse on the Arab side. And I have to explain a little bit why this remorse is there and why did it have to go through the presentation of a resolution in the IAEA, and why are we talking now of rehashing Arab positions and reconsideration of Arab positions and so on. Basically because it speaks of elements of poor consultations with the Arabs, and a letter that was sent of invitation to Vienna that was sent to the Arabs in a very wrong time, actually in a time of a Muslim holiday, Bayram holiday, a Vienna preparatory meeting with no terms of reference, with no Iran, with Israeli presence, but actually presence on their terms, meaning that they would conduct only bilateral negotiations. No 2010 terms of reference, no UN umbrella, no date, and no role, specific role for the convenience. And of course, pre-consultations for what should we agree if there are no clear-cut terms of reference, and the inclusion of new variables that will impinge on the process of weapons of mass destruction and detract it from its main course, such as regional security, conventional weapons, confidence building, and so on. Actually, all these are very important, but they go out of the NPT track. So that really explains why there is this great deal of remorse and disappointment that led to the Vienna failed resolution. So where are we now? We are actually now amidst a very interesting situation, which I think is very positive. We have a treaty-based approach, which is the zonal approach, built upon specific agreements, the Egyptian-Iranian resolution of 1974 for the establishment of a nuclear weapon-free zone in the Middle East, and the 1990 decision or initiative by Egypt to establish a zone free of weapons of mass destruction in the Middle East. And that initiative had 3 pillars. And I'm quoting the original text that was presented to the CD for the first time in Geneva at that time. And please mark, when this initiative was presented, it spoke of 1, prohibiting all weapons of mass destruction; 2, that all states make equal and reciprocal commitments. Very interesting, the same word used by the foreign minister towards this end; and 3, verification and modality measures to ensure full compliance. So, interestingly enough, what we have today is a treaty-based zonal approach and a conference approach. And by all counts, the zonal or the treaty-based approach is a corollary, auxiliary, supportive measure of the conference approach. They are not in dichotomy. Actually, they are helping one another towards the same objective. And finally, I think that there are very important and positive developments that we have to take stock of. In my own view, the very first positive development we have is the presence of this man. He has really spent enormous times and efforts, and he has worked very hard for the realization of this objective. And I assure you, sir, that you have very high respect in our part of the world. The second positive development is serious chemical weapons talks, Iran, Western talks, the Egyptian initiatives, the Israeli, in my view, possible reluctant approval of the Iran deal if it happens, if it were to limit centrifuge numbers, limit enrichment, and allow for rigorous international inspection. And all these positive developments should be captured, and if I may quote President Sadat, whom I worked with a long time ago as a young diplomat, when someone told him, "Why are you so keen on this peace with Israel? You will pay a very heavy price being ostracized from your own Arab world." And he said at the time, at that period of history, that time is the biggest enemy for peace in the Middle East. If you don't capture it now, if you don't catch it now, actually a horrible turn of events may occur. So I think that we have very positive elements working at play now. and we should move forward. We should capitalize on these positive developments and see where we can do and start from there. Thank you.